Hello, everyone. Today we're going to dive into a latest drawing by practicing active imagination. Here's a hot list again. Concentrate helps to grow the mind. Number 2, focus on a dream. Number 3, let the unconscious speak. Number 4, generate an artifact on paper. And number 5, analyze a message and practice. I do this all the time. I do a video. I feel like I'm listening to Andrea Bocelli opera over and over again, but I think it's very important to drill the methodology of the great genius Carl Gustav Jung, psychiatrist, psychoanalyst, and to go over the structuralism of Carl Jung. Here we have at the top, we have the ego, we have the subconscious mind, the conscious mind, the collective, then we have the unconscious, and then we get to this exciting part, the anima, the animus, the shadow work, then we find the self, right? We do shadow work, we don't run from we smash our ego, we'll find our self doing shadow work. Balancing the anima and the animus, anima, the feminine, animus, anima, I think that's an Italian word, anima, and animus, okay? So I'm using here a very basic traditional structuralism on the self-portrait with the model, the artist with the model, a la Picasso style, a la francisbacon style, where these artists utilize what? Their lovers, their sexual partners, their imaginary muses, people that weren't even real, to create an archetype, right? To create an archetype. So when you go all the way down here and you do all this work, you're going to run into an archetype. The archetype could be a trickster. The archetype could be a superhero. The archetype could be all of the above. There will be a person at the top of the apex. Okay? Jung would say a Christ figure, the resurrection Christ, where the Christ comes as a carpenter, then resurrects into the Christ. Then we have the other side of the spectrum would be evil, right? Evil energy, satanic energy, demonic energies. So there's many ways to look at this from a perspective of Carl Jung symbolism, right? Symbolism, man and his symbols, and try to find where you find yourself in the self-portrait, right? So here we're dealing with a very toxic narcissist who is a person that navigates what? In the area of sexual energies. Even though she's an old hardy, she's still navigating in the area of her exterior. This is something I did based on a psychoanalytical group out of Buenos Aires, Argentina. They do Jung, Lacan, and all that stuff. And so this was very interesting. Body, mind, emotions, and sexuality, right? These are our basic three-dimensional projections in our being in others, others being in us, being in others, and others being in us. And here's the famous Euclidean fifth postulate, right? Where here lines will parallel here and here, right? And here we have the fifth postulate. And here I have situated the model doing what? Submerging in the abyss. She's a very non-emotional, sneaky person. And really seeing, here's the eyeball, having a linear perspective on seeing what? You want to be able to see the person's shitty behavior, the asshole behavior. It's interesting. The abyss, the black hole, turns into the asshole, black hole, abyss, whatever you want to call it. If you don't see this, right, with the eye, and you don't see it in your collective, right, where you're going to let This is the interesting thing about letting these active imagination drawings generating an artifact on paper. The more you analyze this by drawing it, and I start with a very whimsical, very fine line, and then I let the unconscious speak through what form and content? Through the drawing. This is once again a psychoanalytical drawing where I started with my being and really no preconceptions. I started here, and then the form and content turns into this, and then I go in with rendering, and I develop form and content, and then I do the geometry based on what? Based on what I'm experiencing in this three-dimensional world. Not only with my behavior, but with the three-dimensional world of the what? Of the non-Euclidean. No, I'm sorry, not non-Euclidean, the Euclidean fifth postulate. Non-Euclidean would be a Francisbacon painting, where once this is processed, it turns into a painting, and this person will be put in a room in a four-dimensional manifold. This turns into a manifold, and that person will be set in what? In a non-Euclidean deformation geometry. We're not there yet. We'll get to that. That will be a pictorial of a bidimensional pictorial of a quantum deformation. That's the kind of work that I do. The most important thing is to really learn to see the person. You get, I see when a person is lying, and a person, you kind of see the flesh becomes very murky, very it almost vibrates of the lying, of the scheming, of the sneaky behavior. Not being transparent. You start seeing like a weird fleshy around the eyeballs and around the cheeks, especially around the cheeks, the forehead. You get a vibe, you get an energy that person is not who they are. What you're seeing is the double, the person that she's trying to project to be, a very nice, very loyal person, but behind that is the other person, her shadow that hasn't been worked on. And where does she go? She goes to where? If she cannot express her emotions, she'll go into the ego. Not working the shadow work. She'll go into ego. Okay? Ego. And run away into the what? She'll submerge into her own abyss. She'll submerge. She'll drown into her black hole. She'll drown into her own asshole behavior. Thank you for watching. Peace out.